coffee. I would like to call to order the Sunset Empire Transportation District Budget Committee meeting on May 8th, 2005 at 10 a.m. And Mary, can you conduct the roll call?
Yes.
Or excuse me, no, we are going to start with the start with everybody. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, Mary will call.
Okay. Okay. Tita Montero,
Here,
John Lansing. Is Tita the only one?
I'm here.
Okay,
Can't
I
you
got
see
you.
me?
Yes, I got you. Yes.
All right.
Can you? You can't see me. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Somebody say.
Tita, do you have a volume ability to increase that a little bit? We can hear you, but not super well.
Let me work on that.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
So John Lansing. Bucky.
Here.
Jim. Jim.
Here.
And Lauren.
Yes.
And Karen. And Guillermo.
Here.
And Rebecca.
Here.
Debbie.
Here.
Paul.
Here.
Pamela. Here. Tracy.
Here.
And Charles.
Here.
Great. That's great. Great turn.
Okay, we're going to.
Can you hear me better now? Can you hear me better?
I think line's on our end.
I mean, our volume's where it's always been, but I could pump it up 10, but if I start calling up, it just could be a little feedback here. We'll go up to 5. We should be okay.
Okay. I think we'll do okay, Tita, just, speak clearly. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, we want to approve the agenda, and we have a revised agenda where Erin has provided that to us, and so I have a motion to approve this agenda.
You tell her what's on it. Because she.
Oh, okay, Tita, for the we've had call to order, pledge of allegiance, roll call, and then we are approving the agenda. And what we did was we added election of budget chair to that, which was just an omission on the
Right.
previous agenda. Okay. So, motion to approve this agenda,
I make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
moved, seconded, discussion. All right,
We don't usually do roll
roll
call.
call, okay, very good. All right, agenda approved.
All those approved, just that she
All.
was, just all approved, say aye.
All approved, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we will move right to the election of our budget chair for our committees for this year. And I will take nominations that,
I like to nominate Charles Brother. Charles.
I expect you to. Gotta wait to the voting part to decline.
No.
Thanks, Paul, appreciate it. It would last 5 minutes if I was doing it.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Thank you all.
I recommend Rebecca.
oh, I'm going to decline to.
Can I ask Karen, since I'm a committee member and not the commissioner, do I vote? Do I make motions? What do I do every day?
Thank you. You deserve a briefing, Karen. Absolutely. We are putting your combined committee that is combined of the community members and also the board members. And this is probably a good time for head count too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so we have 11 in attendance, and that'll matter when we go to the 12. Excuse 12. And so when we vote, we'll you know, whoever has, so that would be, 7 people would be a majority for a vote. So we're kind of 0 for 0 here, 0 for 2. Are there any other nominations for chair?
I will nominate my esteemed co-commissioner, Paul Vicky.
A second nomination.
That was quick. Madam Chair, on nominations, we don't have to have a second, but I appreciate your enthusiasm.
You're welcome.
Are there any other nominations?
Nominate close.
Nominations closed, all right. And so, since we have one nominee, that makes our election a little bit easier. Let's have a show by unanimous consent here. All those in favor of having Paul be our chair signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Okay, thank you. I'll take one for the team here.
Here's
Well,
your.
you are good at it. I mean, you actually know what's going on. Well, I thank you for that.
And
Thank you
as a
very much.
reminder to everybody, Kelly Smith is our budget officer. And we, who she has been designated in previous meetings. So we're ready for your assistance today too. Okay.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from last year's budget committee meeting.
I would so move, sir. Second.
Did we bypass the public comment?
Sorry, we did.
Okay.
Come back.
I'm back to it.
Okay.
All right. Do we need a roll call or can you just do a voice?
Any correction? Anything?
I think a voice is fine.
Okay. Now,
Right.
I usually do. Okay. Tita Montero. Tita Montero on the minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
She has a question, it looks like.
No, I don't have a question.
Is it I then?
Yeah.
Do you approve the
Okay.
minutes?
Okay, thank you. Paul Putke,
Yes.
Jim Albert. Jim?
What?
Do you approve the minutes?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. Lauren?
Yes.
Karen?
Yep.
Normal?
Yes.
Rebecca?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Paul?
Yep.
Pamela? Tracy?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And we'll go back to public comment. Don't see anybody in the gallery. Nobody online. All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 7. Fiscal year 25-26 budget officer report. Ms. Smith.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate our community and our board coming together so that we can roll forward for another fiscal year. I'm just going to read through my budget message and then jump right into the budget, and I'll go line by line through our budget. So please stop me if you have questions. Just for those that maybe weren't here last year or don't remember, I do try to explain as I go through each line, what's in there, what that means, what we're doing, different things like that. So. Dear Sunset Empire Transportation District, Board of Commissioners, Citizen Budget Committee members, and citizens of Clatsop County. Enclosed is the proposal budget for the Sunset Empire Transportation District, SETD, fiscal year 2025 to 2026. The purpose of this budget message and other information included in the budget document is to provide sufficient information to the Budget Committee, the Board of Commissioners, and citizens so that an understanding of the proposed budget for the coming fiscal year may be gained. Budget was developed pursuant to state statute, SETD financial policy, and other district policies. The information contained in the proposed budget represents the district's staff's best estimates of resources and expenditures. These were obtained using professional judgment, existing policies, budget history, and generally accepted accounting practices. The SETD Budget Committee consists of the Board of Commissioners and an equal number of eligible residents who submit letters of intent to serve on the Budget Committee. If the eligible residents are approved, they are appointed to the committee by the commissioners for a total of 14 Budget Committee members. In its deliberations, the Budget Committee reviews and, if necessary, revises the proposed budget from the budget officer. The Sunset Empire Transportation Board of Commissioners has appointed me, Kelly Smith, as the budget officer. The appointment of the financial officer as the budget officer was identified as a best practice and is being done to divest from the executive director being the sole authority in regard to budget preparation. We started this fiscal year by being led by Craig Johnston, who was hired in October 2023. Unfortunately, Craig resigned in December 2024, and Debbie Booth Schmidt stepped down as our chair for our Board of Commissioners and stepped up as our interim executive director. SETD staff has focused on keeping our routes sustainable for this past fiscal year and continue to have that plan for the fiscal year ahead. We are currently operating Route 101, which is Astoria to Seaside, Route 10 in Astoria, Route 15, which is in Warrenton, Route 20, which runs from Seaside to Cannon Beach, and our ADA paratransit services. As we head into fiscal year 26, we have new challenges with federal funding and the timing of the execution of our federal grants. ODOT has advised SETD that our federal grants will likely not be executed until late 2025, which will mean our Q1 reimbursements will be quite late and our Q2 reimbursement will likely be late as well. Staff has taken this information into account and will be running as lean as possible for the coming months. I have asked staff to take an extra moment to carefully review their expenditures as we finish out fiscal year 25 and begin fiscal year 26. So we have three main grants that are main funding. We have our 5311 grant. It's a biennium grant. So the total of that grant is $1,731,272 for the biennium. We break that down in half, which gives us $874,732 for fiscal year 26. Our 5310 grant is $329,944 for the biennium, broke down to $164,972 for fiscal year 26. We received STIF funding from the state, $1,749,464 for the biennium. We break that down to $874,732 for fiscal year 26. You will notice in this budget that I have included a 5339 bus and bus facilities grant of $720,000. There's a chance that we will not receive those buses for this fiscal year, and that we'll need to use that in fiscal year 26 to be able to expend those funds. We do have the $108,000 in local funds available for the match for that, and we can talk about that more later. We have budgeted for a slight increase in property taxes and a decrease in timber revenue. Although we still haven't been given much information on what the timber revenue will look like, we believe it will decrease roughly by 10%. We've made payments on our loan, which will include a large principal only payment, and will hopefully be receiving 4 new buses before the end of fiscal year 25. Both have and will make a difference in what our available cash on hand will be at the end of this fiscal year. We are also expecting timber revenue. We are also expecting less timber and STIF funding. Since receiving financial support during the shutdown in 2023, we've been steadily repaying our loan for nearly 2 years. As of now, our outstanding balance stands at just over $560,000, which includes accrued interest and associated loan fees. As outlined in our revised STIF plan, we are preparing to make a substantial principal-only payment of $168,000 in June 2025. This significant step will reduce our remaining balance to just over $400,000. As part of our agreement with ODOT, we've remained committed to making timely payments and have refrained from expanding services beyond the levels in place at the time of our shutdown. Once the loan is fully repaid, we'll be in a stronger financial position to explore the restoration of core routes and consider expanding services to better meet the needs of our community. This past year has been one of stability for our district, providing a solid foundation as we plan for fiscal year 26. While our budget for fiscal year 26 is smaller than in previous years, it remains realistic and manageable. I'm confident the proposed budget for fiscal year 26 will support our core operations and allow us to continue making steady progress. Currently, we are not anticipating any major new project or significant changes. Our focus will remain on maintaining consistent service and operation stability. We're also hopeful that the uncertainties around federal funding will begin to settle, allowing for a more predictable financial planning in the future. Respectfully submitted, Kelly Smith, Finance Officer, Budget Officer. That's a lot. Shoot, that was a lot.
That's a lot. Thank you.
So just to give a little bit, we put $500,000 into contingency last year. That was in our budget. We made sure that that happened. That contingency money is in a separate account, so it's not something that we just have access to. It is also something that our board has set up a policy where if we need to access those funds in our contingency, that we need to take that to our board and ask for permission for that. So if we're accessing those funds, there better be a really good reason for that. Our contingency fund balance at this time is $929,289.51. So we're keeping that. I know, very excited about that. We didn't have that a couple of years ago. So we've worked really, really hard on that. Did you have a question, Tita?
Yeah, I have several questions, some really basic, maybe develop background kind of things. I read recently that the legislature is looking at cutting or repurposing more than $730 million in state funding that's currently reserved for things like public transit, bicycle projects, etc., and moving that straight to ODOT. Do we know the status of that potential hit to us?
Debbie talked to Arla, and Arla didn't know what that was going to look like. So I don't have any further information on that.
Okay, since I guess what I'm going to say is that since this is a Republican-led initiative, that we might want to make sure and let our representative and senator know how that would hurt SETD if that was to happen. I haven't looked at it again since I first saw it, so I don't know if they changed their minds, but it would take, I don't know how much that would take from us and affect our budget. My other question is, have those buses been ordered? Those 4 buses?
Yes, they are ordered, and our hope is that they will be here by the end of this month. There was inspection on them, and there's of course always things that need to be adjusted and fixed, and so we're waiting for that. So my hope is that that will be paid and taken care of this fiscal year, but on the off chance that it's not, we needed to show that grant in this fiscal year in order to be able to extend those funds.
Okay, great, thank you.
Hey, Kelly, you said in this report compliance with GAAP, of course, compliance with GAAP. And your opinion is also in compliance with FASB. And then we're going to talk more about this loan thing, I suppose, if you go into this thing. I mean, it's still at the top of my head. Interest, I don't know what the interest rate on the loan is, but
3%.
okay, that's not much. And you're not earning anything on this contingency fund.
We do earn on contingency.
1-2% maybe.
I don't know what the contingency is off the top of my head. It was pretty decent.
Yeah. But you haven't given any thought, it's just taking good news, but paying off.
No.
The funds are the funds, they're all fundable.
Well, part of it too is that when we do our STIP plan for the biennium, so when we got that loan from ODOT, the agreement was that we would pay that loan back in payments from our STIP plan. So when we did our STIP plan for this biennium, and we can make extra payments if we want to, but
the SIP plan could fund contingency too?
The STIP plan could if you write the plan that way. And for the next biennium, we wrote our plan to pay our loan. So, and if you don't with the STIP plan, if you if you don't use those funds and you don't have them allocated somewhere else, you can't use them until the next biennium,
Oh, so the next biennium, so you're talking 2 years out.
2 years.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So we have to.
Okay.
Paul, I think you got a couple.
I'm sorry. New job. Yes, Paul.
Kelly, how much is the federal grant that we haven't gotten yet?
That we haven't.
Yeah.
We have received all of our payments. What's happening is we're at the start of a new biennium.
The
and-
federal,
Right. But our federal grants going forward, when ODOT executes those with the FTA, it will be our 5311 and our 5310 grants.
Okay.
We'll receive those payments. Normally we would do our first reimbursement would be due November 15th. But they're not expecting those grants to be executed until the end of 2025. So my thought in that is like the end.
no, I'm not questioning your thoughts.
No, I was just trying to-
I'm just wondering if you really didn't get them.
I'm very hopeful that we do.
Well, how much is that money, federal money? You know, is there a breakdown?
It's the 5311 and the 5310. So
Okay.
it's
Well, we'll get to that then.
over $1 million.
Debbie?
In the minutes,
I'm sorry,
you
yeah.
and Craig were going to go to the bank and make sure that we have the FIDs. FDIC.
Yes, and we do. Our bank is one of the ones that the Federal Reserve recognizes they have to like do extra things so that we can have more than that. That's it. To work today.
Thank you. Tita?
I just want to go back to the ODOT funding. As of something posted at 6 a.m. this morning, the House Republicans are still looking to cut the stiff payroll tax and give not just cut it, but redirect all the tax revenue from the stiff payroll tax to ODOT. So I think we, as we develop our budget, we really need to look at the stiff payroll tax revenue line, because I think we probably had figured that it was going to increase because the original proposal in the House had been to increase it from 0.1% to 0.18%. And but now they're looking at whether it gets increased or not giving it to transit agencies, but giving it to ODOT instead.
And our stiff, our stiff went down. So it was 2.1 for the last biennium, and it's 1.7 for this biennium.
Well, I don't know where you get the 2.1. The payroll tax for public transit is 0.1.
2.1, no, $2.1 million is what our stiff,
all right.
what our resources were for the last biennium. This time
Right.
they're only 1.7.
Okay, you're talking dollars and I'm talking percent. So yes, we're probably on the same wavelength here. So if you're looking at it going down, I think we need to be aware of the possibility of not even getting that 1.8 you mentioned.
Yeah, if I might point out, public transportation isn't a department of ODOT. The fact that they're relabeling how the money is going to go to ODOT doesn't mean that it won't be available for transit necessarily.
They're redirecting the tax revenue to go to roads and bridges.
That's more specific.
They're being specific about it. Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead, Kelly.
Any other questions? Well, I mean, we'll have to I'll have to reach out to Arla and see, or reach out to probably Arla to start and to see what they're planning for STIM funding. I think STIM funding is a pretty big portion of our funding. Pam has a question.
So if that does happen, that you don't get the money, is the budget reflect what happened? Is there enough money if we don't get it?
We have to do a supplemental.
We would, I mean, it would change our budget drastically. We would have to look at what that would look like for going forward as far as operations go.
So would there be a time period you think that transit agencies can have time to readjust their budgets?
So if I'm not, I may be incorrect about this. So legislature is done in June. Isn't that right, Tina? They recess in
Yes.
June. By the
And-
1st of June, we should know what they're gonna do with that.
And we shouldn't wait till the 1st of June to find
Right.
out. We should be talking to not just Arla. Arla can't do anything about it. She can only tell you what's being done. But we can certainly, if there's a time to testify in the legislature about this, about how this would hurt us, and send letters about how this would hurt us to both Javity and Weber. If we don't say anything, we are not helping ourselves or our community.
We can definitely do letters to both of those.
Yeah. The quote here from Representative Shelley Bossert Davis: current stiff payroll tax is too high. Proposed transportation funding framework would redirect stiff from transit entirely. And there was a quote somewhere along the line that the cities could just pick up the cost. And of course, that tells us they do not understand how transit agencies work.
Thank you, Tina. John or Paul? I'm sorry.
Yeah, can we just have the board get with, what's the Tillamook Transit Authority?
Tillamook County, it's the wave.
Can we just have the board do a joint letter with the Tillamook Transit
I
Authority?
have a meeting with them tomorrow.
And
We'll talk to them.
considering our representative is down from Tillamook and he lives in Tillamook and
Both of them are.
he pulls teeth in Tillamook.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, that would be probably the most effective way that we could, that the transit district could affect it. And, you know, I'm hoping the Democrats are just gonna ignore it like they do everything else they're supposed to do, but just in case they don't.
Yeah. I can
we do that?
definitely talk with Brian tomorrow. We have a Nawada meeting down there and I planned on being there. So,
Okay,
yep, I'll talk with Brian.
Paul. Charles?
I think Paul hit right. I worked for the House Whip in the Virginia House of Delegates. Republicans don't have votes. There's a lot of bluster, but they don't have votes. And I'm not in the House, but I can certainly count. And they don't have votes to do much of anything in the Oregon House.
I think, though, we have to realize that everybody in the legislature is looking for money for ODOT. And this is one proposal being put forth. There's been some others. I'm sure there will be more, but they're looking to claw funds from wherever they can find them so that they can redirect it to ODOT, because everybody knows ODOT, I'll just put it nicely, needs money.
Thank you, Tina. Kelly?
Okay, at this point, I'm gonna go forward with the way our budget is written. And then Debbie and I will work on reaching out and getting more information and seeing kind of where that's gonna go. And if I need to make a huge pivot and drastic changes, we will. We don't, our goal is not to approve this budget today. Our goal is to approve the budget at the next meeting. We set up to have 2 meetings. Our board has asked that we do that so that we can go through this meeting, get all of our information, and then if somebody should have public comment or additional information, then that can come back at that second meeting. So unless anybody objects to me just kind of going forward, I think it's important that we just move forward and
Agreed.
hope for the best.
Agreed.
Okay, I'm just gonna kind of go line by line. Please stop me if you have a question or if I don't give you the information that you're looking for. So our available cash on hand that I'm expecting for us to have at the end of this fiscal year, current fiscal year, is $449,851. Our taxes, previous levied taxes that I expect to be received over the next fiscal year is $18,500. I just kept that the same as I had last year. Interest, I bumped up quite a bit. I'm expecting about $48,500. I bumped that because if you look at our year-to-date actuals, which are through March, we've already received $45,000, and my hope is that that contingency money will just stay there and keep earning us lots of interest. Our fares, which is from our buses, I bumped to $90,000. That bump is because if you look at where our fares are through March, it's almost $80,000. And we still have this last quarter left for those fares to come in. So I bumped that a little bit. And just hope that, you know, as our routes continue to stay steady, that we'll continue to see more and more ridership. Our IGA contracted services is $2,500. I bumped that up just a little bit. Rentals is our parking spaces, and that's stayed the same. Commissions and proceeds, I bumped that a little bit. That is bumped that to $4,500. That is for our charge stations out in our parking lot and our vending machines. You'll see that I brought timber revenue down about 10%, so to $154,000 from $165,000. I had asked the county what their thought was on the timber revenue and what they were expecting, and that was their expectation, was that it would go down 10%. So that was where I got my number from on that. Mass transit payroll distribution, I've kept the same at $115,000. Other income is just little miscellaneous reimbursements for things, different things like that. I've kept it $2,500. We talked about the mobility management 5310 grant, $164,972. Same with the 5311 is our operations. So that's operations and admin and preventative maintenance. And that is $865,636. And then we talked about the bus and bus facilities grant, 5339. Yes.
Why is the year-to-date actual so low for both of those grants?
I still have 2 quarters to do reimbursements for that. The quarter that we just finished and our 5th quarter.
So you're gonna add a fiscal year starts. What's your fiscal year date?
July 1.
Okay, so this is through March 31st.
Through March
So it's just for this one.
It's through it's through March 31st, but it's not the reimbursements through March 31st. Got it. Okay. Yeah. Your expenditures, you'll see most of our revenues will be, but those reimbursements are due 45 days after the end of the quarter.
Got it.
Our STIF, which is talk of the town right now, $874,732. That gives our total resources $3,521,191. And then we add our taxes, our property taxes on that. I bumped that up just a little bit. So $1,400,000 makes our total resources $4,921,191. Any other questions on resources? Right.
One thing I would mention in terms of reimbursements, so your federal grants are reimbursement grants?
Yes.
Okay. I work for a nonprofit. We are still waiting for being reimbursed from federal funding from Q3 of last year.
Oh. Yes.
So I think if it doesn't get signed until the end of this year, you're probably not going to look at money until at least June.
And that's my thought for going into our next fiscal year, is that it'll be, you know, normally we would receive our funds. We went through a period of time with ODOT where we received those funds really late.
Mm-hmm.
then we've gone through a period of time where we're receiving them like, I mean, just boom, you submit them and 2 weeks later, like 3 weeks later, money's in the bank. I don't expect that. You know, I'm hoping that we'll continue this fiscal year like that. And then I expect that major change to happen at the start of next fiscal year. So I'm hoping that, you know, I don't want to tap into our contingency, you know, but it's there if you know, push comes to shove and we need it. I'm hoping that they'll get those federal grants moved along a little quicker, and we'll get to move forward. Let's see, going into requirements, we have salaries and wages, $2,002,054. Payroll expenses, $299,562. And our employee benefits, $503,590. FTE on that, I'm expecting 29 is our hope. We've got a few more drivers that we're hoping to hire. Moving down, our audit, I'm expecting it to be 35,000. Advertising, we have kept at $2,000. That's just like employee advertising and those folks. Sorry, Kim.
Okay, so are we doing discussion per line item?
Yeah.
Okay, so with the personnel.
Yes.
That we haven't done the new executive director's salary. Is that in this budget? It is. And also we haven't met to decide what the executive directors is.
I go off of what was initially offered, and I add a reasonable amount to that to allow for some flexibility. The other thing within salaries and wages is when I do my estimates for salaries and wages, I estimate everyone at the top of their pay scale, whether they're at the top of their pay scale or not. When I look at that, I look at everybody being at the top of the pay scale in order to, when you have somebody that comes in, you know, lower in the pay scale, it gives you a little bit of room in there.
I'm sorry, when does the union contract expire?
2027.
A couple more years on that. And I factored in, there's a 2.5% COLA. July 1, that's factored into that. And then, yes, Tina.
This is a point of order. I do not remember hearing the notice that this meeting was being recorded. Is it being recorded?
Yeah, it should have been on the screen at the beginning of the meeting.
Top left, before you, right.
Yeah, I didn't see it at all. I just needed to check on that. Thank you.
So we budgeted last year for 23 FTEs. And for next year, we're budgeting for 29 FTEs. But the budgeted for salaries is only going up, what? Not very much. I mean, that's a lot of FTEs without a big bump.
They're a lower FTE and we haven't had a director salary. It will be 6 months by the time we finish out this fiscal year.
Okay.
And we didn't have an HR salary for 3 months. So
Well, I'm just talking about the budgeted stuff, not
Right.
the actual expenditure.
and I just don't expect it to be that much different.
We've also been down drivers.
Yeah.
Overtime kind of kicks in on that, but we're down 2 drivers, have been for a while.
Well, to me, an FTE is just a number that you use for a forecast that you forecast it out. It's not actually what they're doing and whatnot. I hate to keep, get it to the point that all of a sudden we budgeted, because that's a pretty big percentage increase. And all of a sudden, it's like, well, we didn't have the money to cover. Oh, we have the money to cover. That was my question. I was just concerned about the increase in the FTEs twice what we were actually budgeting. Not that there's a problem with the increase in the FTEs.
Right. No, I feel very strongly that where we budgeted will be good. I see Tina, but give me just a sec because
No, it's fine.
Jim was first. Goodness gracious.
Don't fight over me. Do I recall right, that last year you did a one-time 9.4 or something kind of increase? So
did.
that's all embedded in this, okay.
Yes.
And then this audit, remind me again, who's that? That's state auditing team that does that?
It's an independent audit, because we receive federal funds, so we have an audit
Right.
every year.
Who
And
does that auditing? It's
Eisler
Eisler does.
out of Salem.
Oh, okay. Independent outside.
TDAP.
Yes, to further understand the FTEs, yes, we did have a number budgeted for this year, but I think the comparison is maybe to look at what is the actual FTE count average for this year versus what you're proposing for next year. Because what I'm hearing from you is that not all the FTEs that we budgeted for were in fact filled. Am I hearing correctly?
Yes, and some of the ones that were filled were not filled for the entire fiscal year. So we are at 26 FTE right now.
So that's where, and I think we've asked for this in the past at our budget committees, is not, and we have it, the year-to-date actuals
And that
is
is through March 31st.
through March 31st. So you can extrapolate. We only have not even 2 more months of that. But if you took through March 31st, divide it by 9, times it times 12, then you're going to see what the anticipated end of the year would be. Does that help with your understanding on the FTEs?
Well, no, no, I'm fine with the explanation I got.
Advertising, we kept at 2,000. Bank fees, we kept at 2,000. Building, grounds, and maintenance has actually come down. But we do expect, we had $105,000 in there. Our building lease, I bumped up a little bit because I expect that's for our storage unit in Warrenton, and I expect that to go up a little bit. Computer information and technologies is still at 112,000. I don't expect changes there.
Excuse me, Kelly.
Yes,
I have
sir.
a question from
Oh,
Pam.
sorry.
That was at the last board meeting, a discussion of having the HR office here, which I think is a very good idea. So there's a span of money that would be needed. So how does that?
We're looking roughly, and I have not gotten any contractors to call me back. I called 3. I did talk to one. They're really, really busy, and when they have time, they'll call me back. Another one called and said he has not any time, but he would refer me to a friend of his. I personally know that contractor, so I trust anybody he would refer me to. He has also not called me back, and the other guy I haven't heard from at all. So I'm going to have to go. I'm thinking roughly, and since nobody's really looked at it, about $12,000.
So is that included in here?
Yeah.
And can you afford it? Can Sunset
Yeah.
afford the 12,000?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And the garbage cans.
And the garbage cans.
The garbage cans are there, Paul.
Thank you.
They're there.
Good for you, Paul.
Garbage cans are there.
So what line item includes the contractor for human resources?
The building, grounds, and maintenance would be we want to make an office space in this office for our HR. Human resources is currently in Warrenton. We want to move her. So that would be within those funds.
Oh, so this is not a cost for a human resources contractor. You're talking about a cost to actually build another space for an office for a human resources person?
Yes.
Okay. Where has their office been up till now?
In Warrenton.
Okay.
I'm not sure what line item you are anymore.
I am on line item,
11. What? 20.
so line item 12 is building grounds and maintenance. 13 is building lease, we talked about. 14 is computer information and technologies, we talked about.
That's what I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, no, I was just going through to see, make sure that I
Okay.
have to.
What I wanted to ask is that there's been talk about getting a new computer system. Is that in that line? Is that where that goes?
No,
No, okay.
a new,
Oh, it goes in
accounting
19? Well, anyway, the question is this about computers, whichever line it goes. So we've been through a lot of different computers, the systems for accounting. And so and now we're on AccuFund, whether before we get, you spend a lot of money, whether we could do a survey of transit agencies that use AccuFund, and maybe there's a less expensive fix.
that new system. I'm not looking to, change. I mean, I am eventually looking to change our system, but not this fiscal year. At this point in time, AccuFund is serving its purpose. It's working, and between Madai, who is our HR, and myself and our director, we will start to look more into that. I've reached out to other transit agencies to see what system they use, what works for them, what doesn't. Tillamook, being they're pretty close to our size, is someone that I talk to frequently about those kinds of things. So at this point, I'm just kind of gonna let it sit as far as.
If I might, I think we might want to focus on the line items on the budget instead of processes to do
Yes,
projects.
Thank you, Paul.
But thank you, Pam.
I was gonna say something. Thank you.
Okay. Line 15 is conferences, training, and travel. I have brought that down to 12,500. I don't expect us to do a bunch of travel and training this year. Drug and alcohol testing and background checks is still at $5,000. Dues and subscriptions is still at $30,000. IGA dues and fees is at $12,000. Computer, furniture, and small tools, I have brought down to $10,000.
Sorry, Kelly, can you just say what IGA is?
Oh, intergovernmental agreement,
Thank
that is with Tillamook County.
Thank you.
Equipment lease is our copier, that is line 20 for $2,300. Outreach has come down to $15,000. Employee recognition, it's $5,500. We don't have election fees this next fiscal year. Our fuel, I bumped up to $150,000 from $115,000. Fuel seems to be like my nemesis that I struggle every year to come to a good number for. I feel like it's a really hard one to predict. So I jumped that one a little bit in hopes of being better in line. Insurance is $130,000. We have 4 new buses coming on, so I expect that to come up a little bit. Our legal ad stays at $1,000. Our legal counsel, I have dropped down to $10,000. Uninsured loss, I've dropped down to $12,500. Hopefully we don't have lots of wrecks. Meeting expense, I've left at $2,000. Office supplies, I've dropped to $10,000. Printing, I've dropped to $12,500. Professional services, I've left at $10,000. Taxes, licenses, fees, and interest is $1,850. Telecommunications and internet, or phone lines and internet, is $33,000. Uniforms, I have left at $5,000. Our drivers get new uniforms every year. Utilities, I bumped a little bit to $36,000. Vehicle maintenance and repair, I did bring that down a little bit to $93,500. And my reason for that is that we're getting 4 new buses. So my hope is that we will have less maintenance and repair than we had, we'll be able to use those buses and have a little less. And shop supplies I've left at $7,500. So that makes materials and services $865,150. And our total personnel services was $2,805,206. Our next page is capital outlay. The only thing on this page is just those buses, as we talked about. My hope is that we'll get those in and paid for this fiscal year, but if we don't, we need to roll that into our next fiscal year so that we're able to pay for those buses. They're on order, they're almost done. Hopefully I'm excited about it at the end of this month.
Prices are all locked in that done.
Just waiting for final checkoff and delivery and that. The wraps, yeah, they have to be wrapped. They have to be final check. So. Water before I continue. All right. On our next page of requirements, you'll see our loans or our debt service is our loan payment that we make, $309,168. And then reserved for future expenditure is $221,667. So total requirements not allocated is $530,835. And our total requirements $4,921,191.
Excuse me. I seem to have lost you on this. I'm not seeing those figures. Page line item 39. I got the 865. Now you're on which line item are you on?
I'm on page 9.
That doesn't help me. Oh, okay. So you skipped over. Okay.
It's not allocated. So we have our debt service. And then there's nothing going to capital reserve. Did I miss a page? Page 8 was our
Page 8 was the bus.
Page 9 has our debt service. We're not doing anything into capital reserve this year. It has our reserve for future expenditure. And then our total requirements. Did you find where we're at, Tina?
Yeah, I see where we're at.
Okay.
So what I'm looking for
There's
is
nothing going in.
And this second. Go ahead.
where
Go ahead.
where do
Tina.
we so total resources, because I'm looking for the balanced budget line. Total resources lines 26 4.921 million. So I'm looking for that 4.299. Yeah. So total requirements is 4.921,191. And okay, I see the balance. Good deal. All right.
Good.
Charles?
Can we figure out how to have Tina hold her hand up or something? Because sometimes folks are talking and then she'll just start talking. Is there a way we can get you to raise a hand or something
Yeah.
when you're ready to go?
Sure.
Because someone be talking and then you start talking.
I'll keep my eye on you, Tina.
Thank you.
Somebody help me out.
Yeah. Everybody's looking at their budget.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna move on to page 10, which is no.
Yes, Paul.
Just one quick question. Line 30.
Page 9.
Why did you leave the number for the budget committee approval blank?
Why did what?
Well, the way we'd be going through these is that you have a line, like say, let's take line 15, where the proposed budget officer got $309,000. And then that same number goes across all the way across, right?
Oh, that number shouldn't have gone all the way across. The 309 should not have gone all the way across because the budget committee has to approve it.
Oh, I thought you were just, thinking ahead.
Well, I mean, I
I'm
like,
good with thinking ahead. I'm not arguing. The first one I've noticed that on was on line 30, where you did do that.
well, yeah.
I'm good. Okay.
You
I'm
know,
good. We're good.
You know.
I mean, I would like to just put them all forward and they just,
Well, you did. I mean,
yeah, I did on that one.
okay, I'm
Should have
good.
done it on all of them and then it would just be check, check, check.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
No,
Yeah.
good. Sorry about that.
so that's fine.
Cheetah? Cheetah?
Actually, that column approved by the budget committee doesn't get filled out till after we say yes to all the things. But I do notice that line 32, where you've got the proposed, you've already got it pre-filled in at a lower number by the budget committee. And yet,
But the reason, if you look over at that, Tita, the reason why that number is lower is because I didn't bring the reserve for future expenditure over.
Yeah, on line 30, which is the one I'm questioning. Yeah, I caught that.
yeah, and that's,
I see that.
yeah,
So the,
but the math
anything-
isn't, the math's not working.
Yeah. So Kelly, we're just gonna take those numbers out until we get approval.
yes, please.
No, that's fine. I wasn't arguing about it. I was just.
Well, I just trying to put the matter to rest so we
Rest,
can
thank you.
fund.
Yes. That was an error, sorry.
You get one.
It happens sometimes. I try really hard to not, but
You're doing great. Keep going.
once in a while it pops in there on me. Okay,
Okay, roll on.
rolling forward with STIF that we hope desperately that we receive. Cash on hand should be about $194,056. Our distribution that we expect is $874,732, which line 5 gives us a total resources of $1,068,788. Break that down into our requirements. Did you have a question, Charles?
That's who you say earlier, we've already gotten matching money for still locally already.
We've received our money for STIF through this fiscal year.
Okay, I'm matching. I'm matching.
We use our STIF to match our federal
I'm
funds
sorry, yeah, okay.
Mhm.
We already got it.
for this fiscal year, yes.
Thank
We expect to use $277,434 for district operations, $463,076 for match, and $309,168 for loan payment, which would leave us $19,110 left over at the end of next fiscal year. Yes, Paul.
If I'm understanding correctly, this is based on the STIF plan that was sent to ODOT, and that plan has been approved.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
That went in front of PTAP 2 weeks ago. Yes.
Excellent.
Page 11 is our capital reserve fund. We currently have $100,000 in our capital reserve. It's what we budgeted last year. That money is earmarked for that. We're not adding anything additional to that, and we're not spending any of it, which will leave us with $100,000 at the end of this next fiscal year. Our next page 12 is from STIF discretionary. We do not have STIF discretionary anymore. That was our Portland route. So we didn't budget for it last year, and we're not budgeting for it this year, but it just needs to stay in there until all of the columns on the left are at 0. So we have a couple more years of it. And last but not least is STF. It was the Special Transportation Fund. This has rolled into the STIF fund. And so we didn't budget for that last year. We're not budgeting for it this year. It doesn't exist anymore. So the same as the previous page, it just has to stay until all the zeros on the left side are there.
Guess you clear out this year, though.
We'll have
Two more.
two more. Yeah, and then it'll clear out. So you'll see it for years. That is what I have for the budget. Any other questions?
Wow, I think, yeah.
Cheetah?
So I'm going to go back to the payroll tax issue. I just in the process of writing an email to Javity and Weber, and I wanted to give them the figure for how much we would lose if the proposal goes through. You had said 1.8 million, but as I look at line 11, it says that the state mass transit payroll distribution, because that's the part that they're saying they would do, is the payroll, the stiff payroll, is 115,000. I want to make sure that we're quoting the right numbers to them. So maybe I didn't explain myself and you thought I was talking about something else to get to that 1.8 million.
What?
Can
So mass transit and STIP are two different programs. I just am going to look at something really quick here.
Okay, so
Transit is, it is separate.
It is separate. It's
Yeah,
different.
that's our share. That comes from being in the area around the map, the triangle.
Right. The mass transit does.
I thought it was the number of employees, the salary.
Two different things. This is just our share of that pool that we get because we surround TriMet.
So that's
So-
the mass transit tax is Oregon's 0.1% payroll tax for public transit.
right,
So if that's the case,
yeah,
that's
because
115,000.
okay, because the description is repurposing the 0.1% tax that Oregon workers pay out of their paychecks in order to fund public transit. The payroll tax was created by the legislature in 2017 and has become a major source of funding for transit agencies, which have been adamant that they face major cuts without an increase this year. And so basically that is the one that they're looking to reallocate, repurpose, however we want to use the word. So for us, that's 115,000. Am
Yes,
I
ma'am.
correctly reading
Yes.
that? Okay, great. Thank you.
Previously, when we talked about it, you had mentioned STIP, which is different. It's a different funding. So I just want to, so we're good there. If it's the mass transit, I mean, not that we're good, but the understanding of 115,000 versus 870,000
Right.
helps a lot.
Thank you.
Questions, comments, thoughts?
I thought it was really good. Thank you.
Yeah. Another good job. Good job.
So we need to do this here when we approve it. I think when we approve it, okay, because we're not going to approve it today.
No, our board has opted that we don't approve the budget in the first meeting, that we come together for a second meeting, and it kind of gives everything. Yes, Tita?
So my question on the generically then is if in fact we know we're not going to get certain funding or we need to hold on a minute, I'm sorry, that we need to reduce our resources. Have you got some thoughts on where we could possibly do any reductions on the requirement side?
Dude, could I just jump in here? You know, I think that's something that we're all really concerned about, Tita, but I think that's also why we built in this period between this meeting and the next meeting. I think that our director and our finance officer have not really had an opportunity even to digest some of the information that you've been giving us this morning. I think that one of our agenda items at the next committee meeting should be to discuss this very option and give Kelly an opportunity to do a couple of scenarios, what if scenarios, to answer your very concerns.
Right. And I'll say that it's not just a concern about the payroll tax. I was asking a more generic question. If we think we're going to have to, squeeze a little bit, have they started thinking about where we can squeeze or where it makes most sense? Because, and I don't have problems with this budget. I just know that everything is, all the resources are sort of not as stable as we would like.
Right, and as I stated in my budget message, I have already asked our staff to start squeezing. I've already asked them to start looking at everything before they make a purchase, taking a second look at that. We actually have something right now that's on hold that I truly believe our maintenance department needs. For lack of better terms, it's a scan tool. And it's a tool that will give them immense knowledge to be able to look at all of our buses when something's wrong and to be able to get that information as opposed to calling somebody else to come down and, use the similar scan tool, find out what's wrong with it, to find out that our mechanic can actually fix it. It's something that I really want them to be able to purchase, but at this moment in time, I've asked them to wait. And it's not cheap. So we've definitely already started this week.
Great.
Yeah. You got a question?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I just say to kind of conclude from my standpoint. I mean, I do a lot of budgets. I've done budgets all my life, and that's 32. And I think you've done an excellent job. I mean, you've been conservative on your revenue forecast, and you've been conservative and tough on your expenses side of this equation. So I think it's an excellent job. And I think we need you in Fred Meyer's finance department.
No.
I can't speak to the what if to the black swan, but you can have one-off scenario.
Just leave my finance officer where she's at.
Yeah, like she survived the last couple of years. We're not gonna have her.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody being here this morning. I appreciate all the comments and questions. Are there any other bits that anybody would like to contribute? Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
If between now and the next meeting you have questions, do you want us to email them to you so you compare a little bit, or just bring them to the meeting? Yeah, be better.
Can they email me directly, Mary, as a committee, or does that need to go?
Oh, I think so.
Okay, you're welcome to email me directly.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll make sure you get me.
And we'll save those up for the next meeting and give the answer to everybody.
Yeah, well, I'll tally them up and bring you all the answers.
All right. No other comments, questions? I think it's been a great session. Without objection, I will adjourn this meeting at 11:10. Thank you all.